Hey everyone, joining in on this Monday, March 4th. I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that the Monday is a great day for you. If you followed me, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you will know that I announced the title of my book, my upcoming book, on Friday, the first day of Women's History Month. It felt important to me to be able to do that then. And the title of my book, which I've been workshopping and thinking about for a long time, is Resilience Renegade. Meeting Life's Mayhem with Moxie. And I wanted to take a minute today to talk about why renegade? What does being resilient have to do with being a renegade? And to me, it's because I have seen so much in the world of resilience. What we read online, what we see on social media, the books that are out there. And there are some great books out there about resilience, by the way. But so often there are things that are equated with resilience, which are not only not resilience, they actually harm our resilience. And so when I think of a renegade, I think of someone who goes against some of these conventional norms to follow what is their own true path, what they know to be true, even if it goes against the grain. And to me, that's what makes me feel like a resilience renegade, and what makes me want you to be a resilience renegade. A week or so ago, and I know I've heard this person say this before, but a week or so ago, a woman that I follow on LinkedIn, Madison Butler, said, I don't want to be resilient. I need rest. That's what I want. And I thought, she's exactly who I want to speak to, because she's exactly right. She has been fed this line of what it means to be resilient that is not congruent at all with what I see resilience being. And I want to talk a little bit about what I mean by that. So I'm going to talk about some of those myths of resilience that I want to kick out to the curb. The first one is what I call rocky resilience. And if you, like me, are a child born in the 70s and raised in the 70s and came into age in the 80s, you grew up on the Rocky movies. And Rocky Balboa was the epitome of resilience, right? He was in the ring and just got the life beat out of him. And he'd pull his way up to the top and of the ropes, and the hits still kept on coming, and he was bloodied and he was battered, and he stayed in the ring and he kept taking the hits. And that's what it meant to be resilient. That's what it took to win. You just had to keep taking the hits long enough that hopefully, maybe, thankfully in his case, he got some good licks in too and came out victorious. And that's impressive. And I love those movies. And my kids love the movies growing up as well. There is something inspiring about someone who is beaten to the mat and makes his way or her way up. And sometimes we do have to do that. But that rocky resilience isn't the only thing that resilience should be. And in fact, if we continue to send a message of resilience being, you've got to grin and bear it. You have to be long suffering. You have to put up with something in order to just simply survive. That is selling yourself short. And it's not true, or at least long-lasting resilience, right? Because if you kept watching the Rocky movies, and I don't know, there's like at least 5 of them where he's still getting, beat down to the mat. he ended up with, as the case with most lifelong boxers, right? Some traumatic brain injury. He's not without his his damage that has been done in that rocky resilience. And particularly when we are speaking to, or you are a person who is in a community who has suffered and been subjected to injustice and discrimination and racism and sexism and homophobia, all of these things, for me or someone else to tell you, just be resilient, tough it out. That's not going to fly. It's not going to work. You know that better than I know that. So rocky resilience is not going to get us very far. So that's the first kind of resilience I want to say we're gonna do away with, or at the very least we're gonna minimize, because that is a last resort kind of survival mode resilience. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we do. But that is our last resort and a short-term kind of resilience. So that's one thing. Another thing I hear often in the resilience community is this idea of this fake, false kind of optimism. If I see another shirt that says good vibes only, or poster on the wall, I swear I'm going to lose my mind. Because that is nothing but, we talk a lot about toxic negativity and that is a toxic positivity. That is, to me, gaslighting. Resilience has nothing to do with a kind of optimism that requires you to believe in some kind of rose-colored, good vibes only mentality. Because nothing is going to suck you dry faster than having to put on this facade, this armor, this pretend that everything is okay. That's not what true optimism is about. I talk a lot about optimism. Optimism is a powerful tool, but it has nothing to do with cheerfulness. It has nothing to do with good vibes only. It has nothing to do with rose-colored glasses. So that's another thing we're going to kick to the curb if we're going to be a resilience renegade. We're going to embrace the fact that we can be a grumpy Gus sometimes, because sometimes our situation does really stink, and we are going to sit on the couch and cry and eat a box. Try not to eat an entire box of Cheez-Its, but you know what? But that's the reality, that we have to embrace how we feel in the moment. So we're going to get rid of all of that toxic positivity garbage. And the other thing that, while we're taking things out to the curb, kicking things out to the curb, is similarly this idea that we are going to be able to find at some point some kind of beautiful balance, right? That we can find some way to hold life in the scales between, we often hear that work-life balance. Just find the balance. Sorry, I've got the windows open because it's a beautiful early spring day and now you can hear the trucks going by. But that you can keep things in balance. Well, a scale might keep things in balance, but one thing it doesn't really do it very well is tell you how much you are putting, if you're putting too much on the scale, right? If you just keep loading up the scale in order just to kind of keep it balanced, the scale is eventually going to break. So it's not about just keeping things in perfect balance. Balance is bullshit without boundaries. Without boundaries. So we talk about how we go, oh, this thing that that you've asked me to put on the scale, or that I'm myself putting on the scale. No, thank you. No, thank you. I've got some boundaries around that. I can't do that. It's the boundaries that make us resilient, not just this perfectly balanced. Because the reality is, even, on a good day, are we able to keep things balanced? Maybe on a really good day. But most of the time, something's out of whack, something's out of balance. So to get things a little bit more manageable for us, we have to use a superpower of boundaries. So that's the third thing. That this some toxic resilience that doesn't work for us, that we're taking out. And this last one is a different kind of resilience that is also harmful to us. And I think of that as a ruthless resilience. This idea that I think is based on scarcity, that there can only be one winner, and by God, it's going to be me. And by hell or high water, I will take down whoever I need to take down so I can outlast, and I will be the one on the top. And the reason that that is so dangerous is that in those situations, that is when we lose sight of our integrity. And if we don't have our integrity, we aren't really being resilient. We're cutting corners. We're treating others with disrespect, disdain, disapproval. We're not respecting ourselves and what our own values are in order to attain something that's generally and most often some external thing that we are trying to achieve that we think will make everything else fall into place. And having external ambition or goals is fantastic. But if we have to be ruthless in order to achieve it, is it really serving us? So that kind of ruthless resilience that causes us to lose our integrity is not a true resilience. So we'll talk about how we can hold fast to our integrity, and that actually makes us more likely to strive and achieve for things that fill us, that are true for us, that align with our values, instead of just outlast at all cost. The means justify, the ends justify the means. That's not a kind of resilience that we're going to be talking about in this space. So we think a lot about a renegade, or sometimes the image that we have of a renegade is an outlaw. And maybe that's a little bit true because I'm running counter to some of these ideas and notions. But it's being very true to what my values, and for you, what your values are, and what helps to keep you nurtured, fulfilled, challenged in good and healthy ways. And that's what being a resilience renegade is going to be about, and what we're going to talk about on this platform going forward, what you're going to discover in this book that I'm so excited to share with you. Those are the things that we'll delve into. So that's why I named the book what I did. We're going to talk a lot more. I'm going to be throwing out lots of freebies, some live streams and recorded videos on some of these tidbits that you'll find in my book. I'm going to be talking about them here for free on LinkedIn, on my YouTube page, on Instagram. And it's just going to be me here talking with you, right? I talked today without a script, and that's probably maybe something that I shouldn't do to be unscripted. Maybe some will be a little bit more scripted and produced. But the important thing for me is to say, this is a resilience that you define for yourself, and I'm going to help you get there. What does it mean to you? What does being a resilience renegade mean to you? We're going to find that out together. And I'm really excited to be joining this journey with you to be more resilient.